Let's learn how to save both vector and rasterized logos as transparent PNGs in Illustrator in this super simple tutorial. So let's start with vector. If I just zoom out and grab my selection tool, if I select the logo on the canvas and drag it to one side, you can see this is a fully vectorized piece of art. So if I'm happy with this logo and I want to export it as a PNG, using the selection tool, make sure the logo is selected. This is an optional step, but I think it's good practice. If you come to the artboard tool and then select fit to selected art, that now means that you will export a file that is the width and height of the logo and no more. Click selection to come back into the main canvas. And once ready, let's go to File, Export, Export As. Set your save location, so I'm going to set my images folder. Select Format to PNG, name your logo, and make sure you check on Use Artboards. You can leave the range as 1 because we've only got one artboard, and click Export. Then set whether you want a web or print standard PPI. I'm going to set my anti-alias into type optimized because I have text on my logo. Don't worry about interlaced, and make sure your background color is set to transparent. And from there, simply click OK to export the PNG. So if I come to images and click my PNG, there you go. There is my fully exported PNG logo with a transparent background. So let's undo this artboard crop and let's just move this to one side. Now, what if the logo isn't vectorized? What if we're working with a rasterized image or a flat JPEG? So let's go to File, Place. So here I have the same logo saved as a JPEG with a white background. So let's place this into the document. Click. So you can see the white background there. And let's come to Align and just center a line horizontally and vertically to the canvas. Now there are two ways to do this. One is using image trace and the other is to properly vectorize this using the pen tool and other tools. So let's try image trace first. Now I will warn you, image trace is not flawless. It doesn't always produce the best results, so bear that in mind. It is quicker, but you won't get those clean and fully customizable edges. So let's go to our image trace panel, make sure our image is selected. And because this is only two colors, I can get away with color mode on a limited color palette. I'm not going to mess around with the image trace options. I'll just use the defaults. But once I'm happy, click preview, press OK, make sure the trace is on. And you can see now the image is being traced. Once the trace is finished with the image selected, object expand, objective fill, click OK. So if I come in with selection tool and select this, you can see the image has been traced, but all the elements are still grouped together. So if I right click, ungroup, select with selection, ungroup again, and now I can remove this white background. So select it, press backspace to remove, and I can go in and remove these other bits of white as well if I like. Use selection tool to select all this. Let's group this logo together. And then if I use the align tool and align to artboard, I can horizontally and vertically center it. And then I now have my vectorized logo that I can go ahead and export as a PNG. Now, if I want to vectorize this so that it's fully editable, so I can edit the text, I can edit the corners, all those types of things, I'm going to have to vectorize with a combination of different tools. So let's just delete this from the canvas, get rid of our image trace panel, and let's File, Place. Let's place the JPEG back in, click on the canvas, and let's center, align, and vertical. Let's select it, set opacity to, say, 50%, bring up our layers panel. Let's call this layer BG, lock it, and let's create a new layer on top and call this layer Trace. We will now do the trace on top of this specific layer. Let's start by going to View and Rulers, Show Rulers, and click and drag out a ruler onto the canvas. View, Guides, Unlock Guides, select this guide, and let's find the center point. So 1080 is the width of my document, divided by 2, that gives you my center point. View, Guides, Lock Guides. Let's reset the fill and stroke to white fill and black stroke, and then let's turn off the fill so we just have a stroke. Next, let's select the pen tool, and we're going to draw lines along the straight edges of the logo. Next, with the selection tool, let's select where the lines cross, grab our shape builder tool, hold Alt or Option to minus, and let's get rid of these excess lines. Then grab my direct selection tool, click and drag over where the lines meet, and press Command or Control J to join the lines together. And from there we can use the round corner option to round the corners until we're happy that we're in line with the original logo. And let's repeat this process for the corner down here. By Command or Control 0 to come back to center. Let's now mirror this to the other side. So select it with selection tool, hold Alt or Option, to click and drag out a duplicate, object, transform, reflect, and reflect vertically 90 degrees. And let's just line this up. Once the lines overlap, repeat the same process as before. Pathfinder, join paths, and round the corners. Select our new shape and let's create two offset paths. So object, path, offset path. The first one to the outside, roughly in the center of this line because we're going to use the stroke. Press OK, and let's create another one that goes to the inside that aligns with this section here. Press OK, grab my rectangle tool, click and drag a rectangle over to line up with the top of this section, grab selection tool, hold shift, select the badge underneath, and then come to Pathfinder and minus from the front to create this section of the badge. Select our new shape, hold shift and select the shape behind it, and then use Pathfinder to minus this from that shape so that we get a new shape. And with the outside offset stroke, let's turn up the weight of the stroke on this. As such, now let's add our text. So use the type tool. I know the fonts I need to use, Lobster and Lato Heavy, but you may need to find these out yourself. So go ahead and add your text. Let's bring the line spacing down on this a touch. Let's center the text by selecting it, holding shift, selecting the badge on the outside, and coming to align to key object, selecting the badge, and then center aligning it. And then from there, we can just scale this down a touch. And we could do the same with the premium quality, align to key object. And finally, we can use the pen tool and the ellipse tool to just create this little icon down here. And now our trace is done. Let's just come to our layers panel, toggle the background off. That's looking really good. So all we need to do now is apply the color. So select our eyedropper, select the color, come to swatches, add a new swatch, and let's now apply this swatch color to the fills and the strokes accordingly. I'll turn off the background layer while we do this. So with selection tool, let's apply the color to the badge. Let's make this vintage text white. We'll make this text the color. If I quickly zoom in here, I'm going to select this object, expand, okay, and let's apply the color to all of these objects. And finally then, this is stroke, so let's switch to stroke, come to swatches, and apply the color accordingly. And if I come to my layers panel, I can keep this background layer if I like, or I can get rid of it. It doesn't matter, but make sure it is checked off when you go to export. And now that we have our logo, we go through the same process. So select everything with selection tool, artboard, come to fit to selected art, selection tool to come back out, and go to File, Export, Export As, set your location. Let's call this logo sample 2.png, format PNG, use artboards range 1, click Export. Let's keep the resolution high, type optimized, no interlaced, and leave the background color as transparent, and click OK. And there you go, there is my fully vectorized logo now saved as a transparent PNG. And there you have it, that's how to take both a vector logo and a rasterized logo and save them as a transparent PNG from Illustrator. I really hope you found this tutorial helpful, and if you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, keep on designing, and I will see you for the next tutorial.